So once you start to gain some health and range of motion into your hips, you're going to want to create different environments for your hips to become more and more functional. And what I mean by that is we want to explore different ranges of motion, different planes of motion, and then there's times where our hips might be really tight and we need to self-assist. So what we're going to do here is first let's consider the range of motion. Now when I set my foot here and I start driving, I'm kind of driving in an initial range or maybe a mid-range. But if I want, I can place my foot out further. My knee won't drive as far, but it's taking me into a different range that I can't get to when I'm here. Now, from there, not only can you experiment with range, but also with plane. So I might want to take my foot out and then drive my knee this way. So now I'm changing the angle. And you need to be careful with these. If you've never done any of these different positions, playing with planes and ranges, you'll want to move very subtly and slowly because you might put yourself into a position where your hip is restricted and your knee is going to take the hit. You'll feel maybe a sharp pain in your knee or some kind of discomfort. If that's the case, you want to back off of it, maybe take a walk and then come back, reposition and try it again. So you just want to move subtly to find that threshold. Okay, so I'll play in all these different ranges. In addition to using the foot as a driver, exploring, I can also use my hand. So I have that sagittal plane drive that I showed you in the first installment. And then now we also have the frontal plane, so we could put arms overhead, and I could drive my arms. And I can go one way, and then I could also go the other way. And then lastly, I can go into my transverse plane. So as I bend, I could drive my hand to the right or to the left using the right hand. And I could drive my hand to the left or to the right using my right hand. The last one would be when you're using your eyes. You can look straight up, but you also have the option. You could look up and back to the right. You could look up and back to the left. And you can even just go straight into the other planes. So we go side to side. We go through the rotation. And there you have it. So those are some additional options that you have for exploring some of the other drivers in planes and ranges. Now let's not forget about those of you who might have a really stubborn hip. What you're going to want to do is actually a self-assist. You'll get your hand, you're going to place it. So if I'm in the true stretch and this is the knee that's down, I'm going to place my hand here on my hip. And as I bend, what I want to do is I want to take this hand and push it down, forward and down, to open up the front of this hip. It can become very difficult, so I'll show you a couple strategies that I'll use to help with that. Okay, so one of the first ones that I'll use is I'll put my hand on the top of my hip here, and I'm going to flex my spine, and as I come up, I'm going to push my hip down. And I'll come back. I'm going to flex again. As I come up, I'm going to push my hip down. And that gives me a very, very strong thigh stretch and front of the hip as well. Not as much in the abdominals there. What I may also do is drive my knee forward, so let my knee create the reaction, and then my hands just serve as an assist. So my knee bends, and then my hand follows with that push forward and down. Those are a couple options you can try. If you're still having problems, definitely speak to your FS professional.